when we're talking about grooming, whether it be at schools, at youth sporting clubs and so on, is there a clear established practice around the nation for identification and reporting of it?
Absolutely not. Unfortunately, it's quite a difficult thing to identify. A lot of what we know about grooming has come from cases where the offence has been completed. So we can look with hindsight and see, you know, where those steps started and how it progressed. But it's very difficult to identify at the time because a lot of those acts can seem quite innocuous.
So talk us through that. It might be in some circumstances. There are obviously plenty of innocent examples of teachers helping out struggling students. How do we delineate the two at the moment?
Absolutely. This is a really tricky thing that needs to be discussed in much more detail, and it's certainly very nuanced. So, you know, the odd offer of, you know, I'll drive your son home after practice, or I'll tutor your daughter after school, or come to my place and I'll help you on this assignment. You know, if it's a one-off thing, that was sort of an isolated thing. What we're really looking at here is the patterns of behaviour, and to take the emphasis away from the othering and the identifying, you know, this person as being likely to do this, and thinking more about the behaviours. So identifying and targeting potential victims, like Ms. Tame explained, looking for vulnerabilities, maybe an absent guardian or mental health concerns, or unfortunately, you know, previously being victimised puts you at a greater risk of being more vulnerable. And then gaining trust and friendship. Again, the idea of favouritism or giving of gifts or use of attention might in and of itself not be cause for concern. But if that's happening over and over and we can identify a pattern of behaviour, then that's something that we should look for. And then as she continued, isolating the child, violating boundaries, it's quite late in the process that the sexual desensitisation and the maintenance of control and the act of offending actually unfolds.
So just in terms of calling that out, though, is that one of the biggest hurdles? Some of the activities you mentioned there, particularly early on, I think we've all experienced a time at a school where you think that teacher might be a bit too close to students, but look, they're probably being nice. Is it that willingness to say, I think they're grooming, and how they could possibly raise that? Because if they're wrong, that accusation is so damning that instead people stay silent.
Right, yeah, definitely. I think as Grace Tame said the other day, this starts with conversation, and this starts with being able to talk about it. And as she said, we can't stop something that we don't discuss. Doing nothing is doing something. Neutrality helps the oppressor. All of those lessons are really clear from what she's been saying. And I think while we need to talk about this, the flip side of that part of conversation, you know, around making noise, is also around listening actively and listening genuinely and listening gently when people come forward with those sorts of things. And again, I think looking for the patterns of the behaviour and not looking for individual people, I think, is the key.
Just really briefly, I mean, does there need to be an automatic trigger that if 3 behaviours are happening, someone can say, look, I don't know what's happening, I'm not accusing them, but here's what's happening around this teacher, it might be, and possible grooming. Can someone look into it?
I wouldn't want to suggest anything as sort of cut and dry as that. I think just right. Talking and asking the question and, you know, finding out what's going on, and, you know, is it just we're just helping with an assignment and it's a one-off thing, or is it, you know, every day at lunchtime this man is no longer on playground duty, and, you know, he's meeting with a child in a room every day. I mean, it's really more about patterns.